Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm a little frazzled because we were having trouble getting me into the webinar tonight. So I just got in and I'm going to start to set the energy for tonight's healing. It's on the tool of a protection rose. So let me go ahead and set the energy for the healing. As we cleanse and heal the temple of the soul, may it be with the blessing of divinity that it shine its countenance upon us and bring us peace in body, mind, and spirit. Amen. Okay, so tonight I want to tell you a little bit about the protection rose before we start. For anybody who's new and is not familiar with the protection rose, it's an energy tool that we use to mark the edge of our aura. And it is using the mental image picture of a rose, a beautiful rose, and it could be any color. So I'm just going to suggest that it's a red rose for tonight. And we place it on the outer edge of the aura. So one of the first things I'm going to do in the healing tonight is to help you pull the edge of your aura in so that it can be just about 3 feet away from your body. And we're going to mark the edge of that with a protection rose. Well, the protection rose gets a grounding cord, and it gets grounded all the way to the center of the planet. And you might think that this little picture of a rose is not that powerful. However, it's as powerful as you want to make it. And the more you use it, the more certainty you build into the tool and the more energy it can handle. So the point of the protection rose is to capture energy that's being directed at you. And the rose will capture that energy and send it right down the grounding cord. And since that rose is at the edge of your aura, it can capture that energy before it gets into your aura and it affects you. So that's the point of the protection rose. Well, actually, there's 2 points to it. To protect you from energy coming in, but also to remind you of when you're overstepping the edge of your aura and going into somebody else's space. So it has to do with looking at what side of your protection rose are you on? Are you on the inside of your aura, or have you moved to the outside of your aura? And we want you on the inside of your aura so that you can look out and actually see that protection rose in front of you. Okay, so there are different things that can affect your tool of a protection rose, and I picked 3 categories for tonight's healing. We're going to take a look at the energy of beings that can affect your protection rose, and then programming, and then family agreements. So each one of those 3 categories can have an impact on the integrity of your protection rose. And I'm going to start with the first category, which is beings. And we'll take a look at the beings that are affecting your protection rose and preventing you from being able to utilize it 100%. Okay, let me get started. By the way, the way that I'm doing this is I'm looking at the tool of a protection rose in a rose. So I'm actually looking at a rose. And there's actually quite a few beings around the protection rose. Interestingly, there are a number of religious beings, and we're actually going to get into that in the second part when I take a look at programming. But I'm going to go ahead and move the beings away from your protection rose. And I see these beings as white beings. So there's a lot of white beings. beings don't like it when you try to block them from coming in your space, because a being really wants to be able to learn how to use a human body, a being without a body. And so they're sneaky and they will try anything to get into your body so that they can see how it works and learn how to use one. So moving these beings out, there's another layer of beings that I see that I would call control beings. These would be beings that try to control your energy and keep it at a certain vibration so that, again, they can stay and linger in your space at that vibration. You know, when you start to raise the energy of your body higher than that of a being, they can't stay in. So that's why control beings will try to keep your energy repressed or depressed so that they can stay in the body. Because you know what? If they had energy as high as yours, then they would be able, and the intelligence, they would be able to have a human body. So everybody has one, well, you have multiple control beings, but there's one control being that we all have that has to do with the survival of our body. And I'm looking at that one right now and giving it a kind but gentle healing out of your tool. And I see this as a red entity. And the way that it's controlling you is through your heart chakra. So there's actually a cord, a line of energy going from that control being to your heart chakra. We actually have a name for this being. It's called the God of your heart being. And I'm not going to disturb the connection that you have with this being, because truth be had, that's something that you're going to work on most of your life, is learning how to make separations from that control being. And the way that you do that is learning how to operate more and more off of your own information so that you don't have to rely on that control being. But what I am going to do is move it out of the tool of your protection rose. That's good. That being can actually be neutral to you having a protection rose. Then, okay, so that's good. There's another layer or level of beings that I'm looking at right now, and that would be beings that have had bodies that you know that have passed, and those beings that might actually get in your space and not have an awareness of your protection rose being there to keep them out. So let me work on that level of being. Yeah, especially if it's like a relative, somebody you were close to that you've known in the body, but now they've passed. There's there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? They feel like they can just come right in, like they just have free entrance into your space. Good. That's working. Your protection rose is starting to work and be able to back that level of being off. If you've ever lost a relative and out of the blue had like something like a big thunk in the head after they've passed, that can often be them coming back to communicate with you, but not having a sense of what's really their space and what's your space. You know, sometimes after a being leaves their body, they can still be unconscious and not have a great awareness, depending on what state they left their body in. If they were sick, or if they had a sudden death, an unexpected one, like from an accident, they might not have a great level of awareness. And when they come back to collect up their energy from you, they can be invasive or intrusive. Maybe intrusive is a better word. So that's the level of being that I'm working on right now. Okay, I like that. I like that. That's working well. Okay, so the rose is working well for beings. And what I'm going to do now is take a look at programming. And programming in a nutshell is when somebody tries to talk you into something that you yourself, that is not really your picture. Let me say that. And I'll give you an example of programming, and I want to work on this, is like religious programming. And there's all kinds of different religious programming, but programming to keep you from being senior in your space and having to rely on someone from the church for your communication with Supreme Being. So that's a level of programming I want to clear. There's a lot of energy in religious programming that tries to tell you that it knows better than you what's good for you. That's programming. And you got to figure you have all your own answers, and that's not really necessary for you to go through somebody else to communicate with Supreme Being. The way that I see this in the rose is like mottled brown energy. And you know, it's religious programming, not just from this lifetime. So, you know, your tool can be affected by past life programming as well. So I'm trying to encompass all of it. There's a lot of Egyptian energy coming out from all the different deities. There's kind of a an intrinsic message in that religious programming to me that is something along the lines of there's something not wrong with you, but there's something that you're missing, that you don't have, that you need to rely on somebody in the church for. So it's not really a hello to you and your own information. It's more of that programming is coming out now. It's like a dark purple. And you know what's coming out as that programming comes out is the feeling of being taken advantage of or wronged or deceived. Because you trusted somebody else to make decisions for you rather than use your own information. Yay, it's starting to release. Boy, that was tough. That is a tough energy, that religious programming. Oh, I know what's coming out from that is guilt. That is the control energy, is guilt. So if you can be brought into the vibration of guilt, you can be programmed. And the guilt is coming out like a Pepto-Bismol pink. And for women in particular, this guilt really affects your creative energy. So I'm really glad to see it coming out of your tool of a protection rose. Lots and lots of guilt. Still coming out. And then there's also energies like disappointment, deceit. Yeah, that energy of being deceived, like programmed and deceived, that's a very dark energy. That's like almost it's a brown black. But you know, it doesn't have to be religious programming. We get programmed every day by people wanting us to take their picture into our space and try to make it ours. That happens all day long. People are trying to program you. And really, The best way to handle that is to let your protection rose absorb those pictures or that energy of programming and let it go down the grounding cord on the rose. Okay. I'm just getting the tail end of that brown-black energy out. And what's cool is as the programming comes out of your protection rose is getting bigger. It's plumping up. And I'm starting to see that protection rose like a yellow gold now. Okay, that's great. I'm going to move on to the last category, which is family agreements. Now, this has to do with different family members who would like very much to be able to move in and out of your space. And I'm going to start with mom, because that's a big one for mothers, because there's, when you're trying to raise a child, there's a level of where you would like to control their energy when they get out of control. And a lot of times that will mean that, and it doesn't have to be this way, but a lot of times a mother will move her energy into the child's body or into the child's head to try to tell them what they want them to do. So a mother generally does not like the protection rose tool, because they want to be able to get into your head and tell you what to do. And that is, again, kind of a dark energy in the protection rose. There's a little bit of a red in there too. Yeah, so those family agreements, especially from the mother, have to do with wanting to remain being the senior person in your space. And I'll tell you, that can go on into your adult years as well. Boy, that is a heavy energy. It's kind of like a thud. It is coming out, though. And in some of your cases, there's almost a desperation in that vibration of I need to be able to control you and your behavior and your actions. And, really the reason that happens is because that parent is not senior in their own space. If the parent was senior in their own space, they wouldn't have to be in competition with the child for their space. Good. The last clump of that just came out. Now I'm going to turn to dad and take a look at the energy of family agreements with your dad. This is different because dads are oftentimes conditioned or programmed to be the protectors of the children. So there's a conflict there when you start utilizing your own information and using your own protection rose. That can actually be invalidating for a parent, for your dad. And the invalidation that you see in your father might trigger some of you to try to heal that, being healers that you are. So working on that. That's hard for a dad to turn over the protection of your body to you. I really noticed that when my father passed. After he passed away, there was this whole level of protection energy that just came off of me. And it made me very aware of how alone I was and how I really needed to create a system of self-protection, which is your protection rose, as well as keeping your chakras spinning properly, because that emits your electric blue protection energy between the layers of your aura. Okay, next, I'm just going to take a look at siblings. There's a lot of body swapping between siblings. I'm having trouble saying that, siblings, where you have brothers or sisters and you'll move your energy into each other's bodies. So I see a lot of that, and where siblings don't want to be blocked out of your space or your aura. These agreements tend to be, not always, but they tend to be a little bit more heart chakra based, so that if you wanted to change them, obligation lights up and just makes it a little bit more difficult to end these agreements because you start feeling that obligation. There's also like a hierarchy in siblings where a lot of times the older sibling will feel entitled to be able to gain entrance into the younger siblings' auras and bodies. And I guess I should talk about resistance because that's coming up as far as like when I look at siblings getting into each other's space. You know, when you're growing up with your siblings, you may tend to fight or have conflict. And that's really a way for you to learn how to start moving those agreements out of your aura so that you can own your own space. But what I was also wanting to talk about was resistance. Your protection rose needs to be neutral. And this last part is where I'm going to take out any resistance that you have to invasive energy, because the minute you resist something, it's going to stick. And if you resist something in your own space, that energy will come in and it'll stick like glue. So we want to clean any resistance that you have out of your tool of a protection rose so that the rose itself, energy can just pass through it and go right down that grounding cord without sticking. the resistance is a pretty dark energy. And there's actually a lot of it. So give me a minute here to clean this out. I like what I'm seeing because as the resistance comes out, the protection rose tool is taking on kind of a moon glow, like a harvest moon. That's what it's starting to look like. And it's getting bigger, so it's growing. All right, that looks great. And I pulled your aura in so that your protection rose is pretty much right in front of you, about 3 feet. And if you can imagine the color of a big harvest moon, that's the color of your protection rose. Now, it doesn't always have to be that color. I'm just saying tonight, that's what the vibration came up to. But you could use a blue protection rose, a pink one, whatever color you like, whatever color you feel is in affinity with you and that you like and that will work with you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and create a big gold sun to fill that tool of a protection rose in. And what I'm doing is I'm collecting up your information on protection and gathering it all up, bringing it back into a gold sun. Filling the protection rose in. Now, because we did all this work on the protection rose, I'm going to blow it up so that it's all dispersed. And then I'm going to collect up another gold sun and fill you in with it. And what I noticed when I went to fill you in with the gold sun, it was like a really pretty orange gold, but I noticed that everybody relaxed and there was like a level of peace coming in because you have a means to protect yourself now. That was really cool. So let me go ahead and close out the healing. May it be with the blessing of divinity that this healing on our protection rose tool tonight be complete. Amen. All right. Good job. Now let me just take a look at you. Some of the energies are still coming out of your space, like your body and your aura. We did the protection tool, but you're going to have matches that got lit up while I was doing that. So you will be releasing energy. So you want to stay grounded. And if you know how to run energy, you're going to want to run energy. And also keep bringing gold suns in. To keep replenishing yourself. That was a good healing and you released a lot of energy. Let me check my calendar real quick to tell you when Seek and You Will Find is coming up. I'm on my laptop, so it's kind of hard to see. Okay, next Monday is Seek and You Will Find, and you are welcome to come and ask me questions and I will answer in the form of a healing. So I will see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Got my eyes on you. Have a wonderful evening tonight, and I'll see you on Monday. All right. Thank you for coming tonight. Bye-bye.